What's going on, guys? Yash here. Welcome back to the channel. I hope every one of you guys is absolutely having a great week and a great day. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the channel. Before we do move forward, please be sure to drop a huge like on this video, smash that subscribe button, and turn on your post notification bell. Also, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Yash. I basically am in the e-commerce and digital marketing space for a little over 2.5–3 years now. I usually do make dropshipping related videos on this channel. However, today I wanted to do something different and bring on someone named Jason Patel onto the channel and do a little Q&A with him, as he is another entrepreneur, a little bit different than the dropshipping and e-commerce space, more so in the educational and online space. However, we're going to be discussing some awesome things, especially if you're in high school or college. I definitely recommend paying attention, taking away some golden nuggets, and if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, please be sure to drop them in the comments below. I will be reviewing and responding to all of them. So with that being said, guys, enjoy the video, sit back and see what you guys can take away from this Q&A with Jason. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Jason Patel on the channel today. Jason, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Yash. How are you? Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel, so pretty cool being here now.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure. I do appreciate you taking out the time. So anyway, Jason, for those of you guys that don't know, Jason is an entrepreneur himself. He's an online business owner that's been in the space for quite a while now. So I thought I'd have Jason on for him to kind of shed some light upon you guys. I know most of you guys are into e-commerce and drop shipping, but for a lot of you new guys, I think there's a lot to take away from this Q&A. So definitely stay tuned for the entire video. Jason, if you can just give us like a little bit of an explanation of background on what you do, who you are, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the founder of Transition. We're a marketplace that connects college and career advisors to students in order to help the students with their mental health and college outcomes. Essentially, what we do is that we match up a high school student with a mentor, in this case, a college and career advisor, and that mentor will guide the student throughout all the college planning and career planning processes. What we do in a nutshell means that our customers can get premier college and career advising at a fraction of the cost. Our goal here is to really help students lower their anxiety levels and help them with the next step of their lives. We want to scale up, and in doing so, what we want to do is help thousands upon thousands of kids in the country with their college planning and career planning process. What's so important about this is that a lot of kids in school don't get the help that they need from their guidance counselors or teachers, because it's not the teachers or guidance counselors' fault. It's really the fact that the system is so overburdened with so many kids. So what we do is that parents or students will come to us and we'll help them from the outside and guide them with everything from creating a college list to figuring out what major you want to go into, to figuring out how to tell a story on your college essays and the like. So we're here for students and we work predominantly with teenagers.
That's awesome, dude. That's very glad to hear. Now, do you operate mostly online, or do you also have like a retail space or like a storefront?
Yeah, so we're all online. Right now, if for your viewers who are going to be listening to this in the future, we're recording this in the middle of May, which is when the COVID crisis is somewhat at its peak. And the COVID crisis, by and large, hasn't really interrupted any of our operations because we're entirely a remote company. We're all distributed, which means that we never had a retail space or office space to worry about. For those of you entrepreneurs out there who are a little cash tight, it's really important to note that if you're an online business, you don't need an actual retail space. And that sounds obvious, but a retail space is a huge pull on your cash flow. For a lot of startups, your space where you work out of, if you work out of a physical space, can be a huge pull on the cash flow. And what that means is that you're spending a lot of money for a space that you might not be using to the optimal level. Because we're fully remote, we sell to parents and students over the phone and online. All the services take place online and over video sessions and over our software that we developed in-house. And in doing so, what it's done is that it's given students the ability to work with us anywhere. It's given us the ability to source talent from all over the world. And that's been a great help to our parents and students.
That's great. Yeah, I think one of the main benefits of having an online business, just to adding to that, is just the freedom you get. I like to use a term called location neutral income automation, literally working from anywhere and anywhere, without having like in-house employees or like in-house inventory or anything like that. So I think that's kind of one of the biggest takeaways. And there's just so much opportunity out there right now, whether you want to get into the education space, the online digital marketing space, just kind of throughout on the spectrum. So with that being said, kind of transitioning on, what made you start your first online business? Was this your first online business? And what made you do so?
Yeah, so when I was a postgraduate from the George Washington University, which is located in Washington, D.C., I volunteered around D.C. helping students with their college and career work. One academic cycle, a couple of my students got full rides and partial rides to some of their top schools. So their mothers basically implored me to start my own business. The first iteration of that business was not online. It was actually a business to business, a B2B service. And that actually floundered completely. I spent a year of my life really not getting any customers and spending time on solutions that wouldn't help anybody. So what I did was I pivoted and I took all the things that I learned and created the online version of that business, and then also created it and turned it into a B2C solution, a business to consumer solution. So this is my second foray into business, but it's my first online business. It's going well. And I'm sure you'll ask about our traction and progress later. But overall, yes, this is the first sort of business that we've had. And in doing so, all of our marketing channels and all the service fulfillment that we do occurs online.
That's great. So how many years exactly have you been running this company?
I've been running the company for 3 years. The first year was a sort of beta test where I kind of messed up a lot of things. And the last, I want to say, year and a half have been full go, 100% green light speed level. So a year and a half, we could say I've been live traction.
Awesome. Awesome. So I guess this next question, to maybe some of our younger viewers, right? After college, or sorry, after high school, pardon myself, did you get a full-time job? Did you go into college part-time, full-time? Kind of what was that transition like? Or were you already exposed to the entrepreneurship space? Do you think it was even possible to earn an income online and have a full-time business?
Well, in college, I thought I was going to be running political campaigns, and I thought I would end up having my own consulting firm one day, helping people run for office. And then, in college, I wasn't super entrepreneurial. I actually, did a lot of networking in college and made a lot of friends and was super social. So those aspects that an entrepreneur needs to grow the business and raise investment money, which I'm assuming we'll touch on later, I did a lot of those things in college. But in college, I focused on politics, focused on my studies and my Greek life, that the fraternity I was in. And I really didn't do much in terms of starting an online business. After college, I got a full-time job, had a lot of learning experiences, but did not do well in that job. And then I started volunteering. And then a couple of years later, that brought me into the online business. So for all of the high school students out there, you don't even need to be thinking about starting an online business right now. Obviously, the earlier, the better. But what's important is that you're building those skills. For anyone in the high school level, up until a little older, maybe until you're 25 years old, you're not going to have a network. You're not going to be making much money. And because you are so new to the professional scene, you just won't have much leverage. What you should spend your first 25 years of life working on is building a lot of great skills. Now, that could mean starting an online business and failing along the way. But what I suggest is doing Zoom meetings with a lot of people. Once the lockdown is over, getting coffee with people or getting a beer if you're over 21, and just basically shooting the crap with a lot of other business owners and smart people who will teach you about their successes and failures. You also want to learn organization, and most important, you want to learn focus. Because you're young, you think that you have all the time in the world. You're going to be waking up late and spending time on things that are somewhat trivial. But as you grow older, you'll realize time is limited, and you will start growing older very quickly, especially once you reach your mid-20s. So value time, focus on what you want to focus on. So that by the time you're maybe early to mid-20s, you crystallize what you want to do in your life. And then once later on, you can start an online business. So for everyone out there who wants to start an online business, it's a great route to take. You could start an online business now, but what's really important is acquiring those skills. learn how to network, learn how to create an elevator pitch, learn how to use different online platforms to keep yourself organized, learn how to meet new people and get a warm introduction to perhaps an investor or someone who can help you with your business operation. But the more you build those skills, the better off you're going to be later in life, whether that's your mid to late 20s or even older.
Absolutely. I think that's some great advice and some great takeaways right there. Next question, I guess a little bit to of you guys that are maybe a little bit older. I know right now we're in May. A lot of high school or sorry, college seniors are graduating, and a lot of you may want to probably start your first online business or your second or third online business. And I know there's kind of like that pressure to go into that 9 to 5 rat race, that traditional 9 to 5 norm. So for those of you guys that are graduating, or kind of what you can suggest to those type of people, do you recommend going into a 9 to 5? Do you think it's mandatory to kind of, gain a little bit of professional experience to have it reflect on your business? Do you think it's not needed, or kind of what it's like to go maybe just go full in what you want to pursue? Kind of the pros and cons as to not having 9 to 5 and some sort of sustainable income.
Right. So to be clear, I don't think there's one clear route that you should go into. I think that if you have a clear and focused vision on what you want to do, you should go ahead and do it. As long as you can pay rent, pay for groceries, pay for transportation, and put a roof over your head and put food on the table, you're okay. You can really do whatever you like. What, again, we should focus on is acquiring those skills so that one skill builds on top of the other and you get compounding gains from what you want to accomplish. So if you start a business, even if you're making maybe $2,000 a month, which is still pretty good for someone who's young and starting an online business. If you're making $2,000 a month, and let's say you're taking home $700 from that, and then you need to work a part-time job or two to keep yourself afloat, as long as you're learning stuff from that online business, there's actually nothing wrong with that. What you have to make sure is that the effort you're making in entrepreneurship is genuine, especially from the early stages, because you need to learn. You need to learn skills. I know a lot of 20-somethings think they know everything about the world, but I promise you, if you look at your life 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 1 year ago, you're going to realize how much you learned. I am 27 years old, and I remember 6 months ago, there's so much that I didn't know that I know now. Now imagine how much more true that is for someone who's 22 or 23 and finally entering the workforce. But starting an online business is perfectly okay, as long as you're willing to acquire those skills and really make sure that your effort is genuine. You could also get a job. Now, getting a job is something that you want to acquire skills doing and meet people. Don't make sure you're not just entering the rat race just because you're in the rat race. So if you get that job, you have to acquire those skills and understand that the skills that you're gaining are going to be used for that online business that you want to start one day. A lot of times people get a job and then they get comfortable with making a paycheck, a reliable paycheck, something that pays their bills and gives them a nice vacation every now and then. Mm-hmm. And then they forget about their dreams. And then they wake up 30, 40, 50 years old wondering what the hell happened to their dreams and aspirations and what they wanted to do with their lives. If you're really crystal clear on what you want, that job should be a stepping stone. So do a really good job playing your role and doing your duties in that company. Really impress people while you're there, make connections, treat all your coworkers really well, acquire those skills, and then those things that you acquired will pay dividends over the long term. So going for a job or going for an online business right after college, neither option is right or wrong. What you have to figure out is, number one, how are you going to put food on the table and a roof over your head? Number two, how are you going to acquire those skills so that those skills compound later on? Results won't come in 1 month, 6 months, or even 1 or 2 years. They'll come over time. You need to be really patient about this.
Absolutely. I agree. And I can definitely take that point over because I consult and educate a lot of people in the e-commerce space. And those groups that are personally part of my one-on-one program, I always recommend, or I always make sure that they're ready to go all in this to kind of really make sure that, they're truly passionate and they're really working on their business for the right reasons, right? Because like you said, the fruits will come later down the line, whether it be 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years, right? But as long as you're passionate, I think that's the number one main thing that really matters. I know like when it comes to e-commerce and setting up your own online store, not a lot of people treat it like a real business, right? There's several components that go hand in hand to make something sustainable and long term. So I think absolutely to what you said is really, really true. I know when I was first starting out, I mean, this is kind of the only thing I wanted to do. Ever since I started, I never really looked back. And, even now, I decided to go full time, pursuing my business full time. So I think mindset, I know that's kind of a little bit of a different topic, is really key. But at the end of the day, just kind of really know what route you're going towards. And I think the younger you are, like you have less baggage to carry with you. You have more of a safety net. You have less responsibilities. I think you and like most other people can agree with that too. So if you're younger, if you're like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, or even younger than that, I should say, I mean, you're definitely at a huge advantage than all the 20 or 30 or 40 something year olds that kind of want to start a business now, because they just have a lot of baggage on their hands, right? They have their families, they have all these bills to take care of. And, it's just less time flexibility in general. So,
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And when you talk about that baggage, or you talk about all the commitments that you have, yeah, it's absolutely difficult to pay a mortgage and also keep cash flow in your business and also put food on the table for you, your wife, your kids, your spouse, or whoever it might be. It's a really difficult thing to do. When you're in your 20s or your teens or whatever it is, you need to experiment. Your biggest advantage right now over someone who's 20 or 30 years older than you and who has a lot more money and experience is that you have the ability to take greater risks while losing nothing. So it's leverage. If you could take the advantage of taking that bigger risk, but also not losing a lot, you should take that risk every single time. Jeff Bezos has a really good quote about home runs in business. In a business, in baseball, when you hit a home run, the most runs you can get at one time is 4 runs, because a grand slam is 4 runs. But in business, you have the potential to hit a home run and gain 10, 20, 30 runs out of it. Now, if you strike out the first, second, or third time, if you're in your 20s, you could still come back to the plate a dozen, a couple dozen, several dozen more times to hit that massive home run that gets you 10, 20, 30 runs. So it's great to take that risk now. And if you're getting those skills and making connections, it's a great way to spend your time.
absolutely. I think just experimenting and trying different things is amazing. I know you're like in the education space. I'm somewhere in the education space as well, but within e-commerce, very niche specific. And even if it's something else online, like Jason said, I think experimenting is really the number one main thing, and see where the short term and the long term reward and gain from that is. So 100%. Thank you for sharing that. Our next question is a little bit more towards kind of your business, right? More towards like digital marketing, since kind of that's what we mostly talk about here on this channel. What forms of digital marketing do you utilize for your business? For which purposes? Is it to acquire clients? Is it to spread more brand awareness, to run campaigns, giveaways? I know I personally myself more so rely on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat to acquire customers, put my products out there. So how does that look like for yourself?
We have 3 channels that predominantly we do very well in, and that's where we get most of our customers. We are a customer acquisition driven company. I don't like using words like brand just as an objective, because brand means different things to different people, and business owners always think their brand is larger than it really is.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to brand awareness, I like to measure it by revenue, traction, and growth. And we do those things and raise those levels by acquiring customers. So we use 3 channels, like I mentioned before. Search engine marketing, which is paid ads on different types of search engines, and we hone those campaigns week after week. We also do search engine optimization, so long form content on educational topics like how to become a lawyer, how to get into GW or Harvard or Stanford or Georgia Tech or Georgia State or Alabama or what have you. And then also content pieces like how to create an elevator pitch, or how many AP classes you should take in high school, or how do you plan your college and career process out. The point is that we create long form content, 2,000 plus words on each of these 3 things, on each of those topics. And we also partner with other publications to create assets and content based on those topics. The final part is YouTube. We have a growing YouTube channel. We do a lot of great videos on YouTube, and we have a lot more in coming. And a lot of that is repurposed content from our blog that we put back into YouTube, or we create entirely new content for our YouTube audience. And we're going to be making a really big blitz this summer on the YouTube platform so that we can really find new customers within those channels when people look for a content piece on SEO or on YouTube. We want to be there first, so they find us first, and that increases our brand, which means that we get more customers out of it.
That's great. I think that's definitely a little bit of a different approach, as we focus a little bit more on business to consumer, more kind of directly, kind of bringing and guiding them potential customers through like the brand awareness cycle, through all the way to the point where they actually convert. So I think that's definitely interesting. I know one thing not a lot of people in the e-commerce space focus on, especially for those of you guys that are just starting out, is more on SEM or SEO. But I think, again, building something long-term or sustainable,
Right.
online presence, I think that's very much needed. Like I know a lot of other bigger brands that I work with, they're all SEO optimized, full on page, off page. So I think that's another great tactic that you use as well that can be applicable to the e-commerce side of things more and more, as I think a lot of people are just neglecting it. But I mean, that's absolutely great.
Yeah, you mentioned the sustainability aspect of marketing, which is huge. And
Yeah,
marketing is really expensive and it's very time consuming. With search engine marketing, maybe for some of your viewers who are newer and might be a little cash strapped, search engine marketing can get really expensive. So you should know where that money is going. And if that money is not converting customers soon, you'll find that your balance sheets are off and the cash flow pull that search engine marketing has on your balance sheets is not good. So search engine marketing might be something you want to do later on. I strongly suggest you look at evergreen content, which again is sustainable. Evergreen content is something that you create once and then it will continue to pay dividends over the months and years that you have it up. Focus on evergreen content, test with your audiences, see what they like and what they don't like, and then come back and see what converted. When you're able to do that, you'll be able to pour more money, pour gasoline on the flames to see what's working to really bring your business to the next level.
exactly. Double down on what's working. That's what I always recommend when it comes to like product selection. Like try to sell evergreen products. I know it's using a little bit of a different term, but products that can be sold throughout the year, regardless of season or environment or like any other bigger events as well. Such as like home improvement, fitness, wellness. Those types of products usually do really well when it comes to, again, that term evergreen. Next question is, what are some of your tips to maximize productivity and staying focused? I know focus is a huge thing, and kind of getting done what you want throughout the day, throughout the week, just setting goals. So maybe some other things that you do the beginning of the day or the beginning of the week, just kind of stay focused and complete all of your tasks on time.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a couple of things. I'm really big on fundamentals. You have to make sure the little things are right before you go on to do the bigger things. So these are my fundamentals. The first one is that you want to hit your flow state. A flow state really is a couple hours worth of work that you do every day or during a specific period. And during that time, you're not distracted, you're just super focused. And there's no other distraction or topics coming to your mind other than what you're working on right now. When you hit your flow state and you're in that flow state for 2 or 3 hours, you'll find that your productivity just skyrockets because you're focused on one thing and you're in one context. And that allows you to think of different problems and new wrinkles and new solutions to the thing you're working on right now. The second item I would mention is you want to make sure your week is structured. And in doing so, make sure that structure is written down in one place. Google Calendar, Trello, Asana, Aaron's to-do list, and Monday.com, amongst other platforms, are a really great way to measure your day and see what you're working on. If you have it written down in one place, you'll be much better organized. And if you structure when you're going to work on those things, you'll realize that you're keeping your time accountable and you're being accountable to yourself. Ultimately, this is your life. It's your time. If you waste it, that's your choice. But if you don't want to waste it, you want to make sure that you have the receipts on hand so that when you spend time on one thing, you want to make sure it's productive. Those receipts for time come in the form of your calendar. If your calendar is set in stone or you adjust it here and there, that's fine. But as long as something is down in your calendar, you know what you're spending on and when you should prepare for certain meetings or certain tasks. The third thing I would say is that you want to ensure that you have a process for everything that you do. Now, that process can, of course, be changed week to week, day to day, month to month. It doesn't matter. But that process has to be written down somewhere so that it becomes automatic to you, and then you can scale afterward. Scaling means that you hand it off to someone else. And the more you have a process written down, the more specific you are, and the more honest you are and clear you are about expectations and what that process is used for, that new person who helps you scale your time and scale your business will learn the importance of what you're doing. So all told, when you have that process written down somewhere, you're staying accountable to yourself, and you're also making sure that this becomes automatic in your mind. The last thing about focus is just staying really practical. You can't look down at your phone or go on social media and waste your time on Snapchat and Instagram or TikTok and then come back to work and stay productive. It just doesn't work that way. You might be 60% productive, but you're doing something called context switching. This is something that high performers know all about. And context switching is essentially, if I'm working on one thing and it requires a certain set of principles or thinking, and then you go onto another task, that requires a different sort of context. And that context, switching from one context to another is extremely tiring. So for example, if you're coding in one context, but then you switch to a new project and you go to customer sales, on one hand, you're doing coding and developing a site or a product. And on the other hand, you're talking to a customer which requires your social muscles. It's just different muscles you're working out. And it's really hard to do. You can't play football, full on tackle football, and then in the next minute play full on hockey where you're tackling each other and you're checking each other. Your body's going to get really tired. Your mind is the same thing. You can't switch muscle here and muscle there, task here and task there, and expect to stay on 100% efficiency. So respect your time and don't context switch. Focus on one thing at a time.
Absolutely. Kind of going back to, well, not really going back, but kind of what I mentioned about like productivity techniques. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Pomodoro method or the Pomodoro technique. Have you?
Of course, yeah.
But like, what do you think about using something like that that's very applicable to someone even who's watching right now? So for those of you guys that don't know, it's basically you focusing on a certain task for 25 minutes and then taking a break. Now, 25 minutes is obviously not a lot of time, right? So do you think a technique like that is applicable, or do you think it just kind of really depends on what you're doing as well?
Yeah, 25 minutes I think is good. 45 minutes is good. For some reason, I like to do 2-hour blocks, 1 hour and 2 hour blocks, but 25 minutes is totally fine.
Okay.
I'm a person whose attention span I can get distracted if I really enjoy the things that I'm working on. So I want to make sure I'm really honed in and focused. And once I do that, after about 45 minutes, I'm just in my flow state. You got to find out what works for you, but the only way you find it out is by focusing a couple times and then realizing what workflow works best. Again, to be really clear, if you think your workflow works best by checking Instagram every 15 minutes or going on Snapchat every 15 minutes, you're lying to yourself, you're lying and not staying accountable to your time, and you're ultimately wasting all the bandwidth that you have. You need to focus. 25 minutes or more on one topic is a good thing. Just stay off the social stuff and stay off all the time wasting stuff so that you're able to better scale your time and focus on the things that count.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, people work in different ways in different environments, so definitely just test what works for you and then stick to that. Cool.
Yeah.
So kind of backtracking to I think it was 2 questions before. For someone who's in college and they do not want to absolutely go to a traditional university, right? Or whether they're graduating this year or next year, depending on where you guys are watching this, and they don't want to go to a 2-year or 4-year college or university, and they want to go all in, starting their own online business, for example. What's kind of some of your best advice for them to kind of keep in mind, at least for like the first year, like right out of high school, and they're going all in their business, and that's kind of their only source of income?
Yeah, the first thing is that don't be too hard on yourself. You're not going to be making a lot of money whether you had a job or don't have a job. So you're not making a lot of money anyway. And if you don't feel like you're conquering the world or doing and accomplishing all your goals, it's fine. These things take time, and Rome was not built in a day. So neither will your entire body of work. The second thing I would say is try to figure out your budget, personal budget. So how much do you need to make to put a roof over your head and put food on the table for yourself so that you're taking care of your basic needs? And the third part is be crystal clear about what you want. Do reading, but figure out what you're really good at, get better at it, and then the better you are at something, you'll really enjoy it. And then once you enjoy it, try to figure out the practical use of it. I don't like saying to people, follow your passions, because I think with our current day and age, yes, I'm not too much older than you. So I think if the viewers are either close to my age or your age, they'll relate to the same thing. People are told to follow their passions and what they love. But in today's day and age where everything is available to you so quickly and people expect results to happen right away because of our phones and because of the things that just give us results ASAP, people expect the rewards of their work to be produced really quickly, but that's not true. And it takes not 6 months, but 6 years for things to happen. So what you got to keep in mind is when you're going about this process, be crystal clear about what you want, and then get really good at something. And the better you are at something, the more you're going to love it, and it'll turn into a passion. Our generation is told the opposite, in that if you love something, then you'll be good at it, and then you should do that professionally. That's not true, because because you will never like something unless you're willing to put in time for it, and the more time you put in for it, you'll get better at it. So the equation is all wrong. Spend time on something, you'll get better at it, and then you'll love it. That's how it works, not the other way around. Don't think that you're just going to have a spark with a particular passion, and then you'll finally realize waking up one day what you want to do with your life. That's not how it works. So spend time, focus on 1, 2, or maybe 3 things, get really good at them, and then try to find a practical application to them. To give you a personal example, I loved mentoring students, and I loved taking risks, and I loved competition. And it turns out that this business is the ultimate combination of those things. I'm a competitor, and because I love gauging myself against who I was a week, a year, and 5 years ago, business enables me to do that. I love building things, and business enables me to do that. I love mentoring students, and I love mentoring people. I love helping out and playing a role in their lives, which again, this business allows me to do that because we're an education business. And that's how I came to it. If you're thinking that you're going to wake up knowing what you want to do, or you're going to learn what you want to do over the course of a week, it's never going to happen, and don't waste your time doing that.
Cool. I think that was really spot on. So there's really not much to add, but I think one thing I could give to people in those kind of shoes who are just getting out of high school and want to go full time is patience. Like they say, like every overnight success story took 10 years. And I'm sure you've probably failed a bunch of times. You've probably had setbacks. Even myself, right? Like I didn't really gain some real traction in e-commerce, having up my first successful brand until it was like month 9 or month 10, right? And even then, I was barely breaking even. I was kind of profitable a few days. Still had a lot of issues with my suppliers, my logistics, kind of figuring out the infrastructure of things. So again, going back to what Jason said, if you love what you do, or once you know what you love, I think that patience will naturally come, kind of just bettering yourself and just to kind of taking calculated and proper risk, right? At the end of the day, you want to make sure you're investing your time, money, and energy as efficiently as possible to maximize your returns. So I think that's what I can personally add on. And then kind of going back to, lowest points, like I just mentioned, can you describe like what was probably one of your lowest points in business, whether it related like personally or just kind of something just solely business related? What was that, or what were they, and how did you overcome that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. And this ties back in well with the last point that you made about things taking time. It was the fall of 2018. I believe it was September 23rd. September 23rd, 2018. I almost remember the exact date and moment this happened. Business was not going well. And I'd launched not too long ago, and I was hemorrhaging cash, acquiring no new customers, and I was wondering if the business was going to last at all. I was at a jiu-jitsu practice that night. I'm an MMA fighter, so I focus a lot of time on doing that, and I've competed at a high level before. That night, a heavier training partner, I was winning the match between us. He decided to do something really stupid, and he hurt my knee while doing it. Now, mind you, I wasn't making any money at the time, so I didn't have health insurance, and I thought I blew out my knee. So I went home that night thinking that number one, my knee was permanently damaged. Number two, I wasn't going to get any medical advice or consultation on it because I had no health insurance, because I had no money. And then number three, the business wasn't going anywhere. So I couldn't even pull cash out of it to help myself. It was one of the lowest moments of my entire life because nothing was going for me. I couldn't train. I was hurt. An important joint in my body kept me from basically walking. And the business, my dream and aspiration to grow this thing just wasn't going well. It was horrible, truly horrible. At that point in my life, I was eating one meal a day and I was eating only eggs because eggs are cheap. And I was skipping everything else. I stopped buying milk. I then took on, around that time, 2 more part-time jobs to support myself. And I just wanted to make sure I could survive. It was really hard because I felt worthless. I felt like my dreams were never going to come true. And I felt like I'd spent all this time and money and energy on this one thing that was never going to happen. A year later from that point, so over the next year, I doubled down on some of my marketing, fired some people who just weren't producing good results. And I decided to take on a few risks and committed cash to marketing channels that would provide more immediate results. And then on top of that, most important, I learned the inside and out of my business. I learned what my customers love and disliked about our product. I doubled down on what they love. And a year later, we became a 6-figure business. We ended up crushing expectations by 150% for the year for 2019. Now we're raising capital with investors. We already have a couple of investors on board. We're building a technical product, and I'm a year and a half removed from one of the darkest, lowest moments of business, and things are going extremely well. So, dark times really happen, whether it's from a personal or professional standpoint. What matters is you stick in the pocket. You stay in the pocket, you take the punches as they are. You get hit in the face, you get right back up. You parry a couple of shots, and right when you see your opportunity, you punch back twice as hard, and you roar back with that competitive spirit, that innovative spirit that is embedded in you because you're an entrepreneur. I'm a fundamental believer in that. It's never over until you're dead. And if you're not dead, you could keep on fighting. You can fight another day. So never give up and iterate. Don't be afraid to adapt. If you're adapting and you're iterating and you have $1 in that bank account to do something, then do it. And sometimes you don't even need money to adapt. You can just do things by yourself and put in that sweat equity. So you're learning more about your company and your business. And the more you know about that, the better off you'll be in making those educated risks and those decisions so that you could prosper one day, which is what's happening now a year and a half later.
Absolutely, man. That's great to hear. Again, I mean, there's nothing really wrong, taking a step back, take 10 steps forward sometimes. And that's great. I think for me personally, just to add on really quick, I know when I first started like 2.5 years ago. So like I said, like Facebook is one of my main bread and butter, right? That's kind of the main bread and butter of my business. That's what that's what a majority part of the revenue from my business relies on, right? Facebook ads. I would say about like 60 to 70%. So there's a time where I wasn't really that proficient, that adept at Facebook ads. And, I lost a ton of money. I borrowed money from my dad. I was paying rent. I had to pay for gas, for meals, and all that stuff. And I was already in debt, and I also owed money to my dad, right? So now that's totally something separate on my plate. So that's really kind of dialed down, or dialed back, I should say. Stop spending money where I really didn't need to. Kind of learn those skills first to implement back into action. So kind of going back to your point, I think adapting, being able to pivot where needed, kind of really able to realize where you need to take that step back and kind of fix some things around to kind of attack again and, learn and grow from there, whether it be one hindrance or multiple hindrances hindrances, because hindrances will be inevitable, whether it be, 2 months into your journey or 2 years into your journey. So
Yeah,
that's,
I'm totally with you.
yeah.
Everyone's going to go through really bad things, some worse than others. Got
Mhm.
to stay in the pocket, take the punches for what they are, and then come back twice as strong. But it's all up to you. It's all in your head and in your heart, and how well you're going to fight back.
Absolutely. Our second to last question is going back to the digital marketing. What do you think the future of digital marketing and AI integration is? What will this mean for digital creators, for digital marketers, for course creators? Like, for example, myself, I run and operate a marketing agency, so we offer paid advertising management to e-commerce clients. But I've seen a lot of new agencies last year and this year who actually have AI doing the work for them, right? When to kill and when to set up these campaigns, which creatives to use, all this different stuff, recognizing and reading KPIs and metric points and all that stuff. So, what do you think the future of that is, and how do you believe it will impact digital marketers and course creators directly?
Yeah, I think digital marketers are going to have, by virtue of globalization and by virtue of everyone now being a part of the digital economy, digital marketers are going to have a tougher time standing out. It's going to be hard because not only do the experts recommend creating a personal brand, but once those marketers create a personal brand, then you have to figure out how your brand sticks out. So you'll have to go through new channels and try to find out new proficiencies and have a better product so that you can attract more customers. It's not easy. It's not as simple enough to say we're good at Facebook, come to us. You're going to have a referral network. And to those who don't have a referral network, you're going to have to build a strong portfolio of differentiated products and services. And of course, case studies. When you have those case studies, you'll be able to point toward them and say, this is the sort of custom tailored, innovative approach you took to help make sure a particular business owner or product or e-commerce store was successful. I think sometimes digital marketers, including me, and I made this mistake before too, they make the mistake of saying that we have a funnel and we're just going to use that funnel for every single product,
Mm-hmm.
customer, or store that we work with. It's not true. It's not the case. And for all you viewers who are thinking or creating a digital funnel for your customers, do not use a cookie cutter approach. It is dumb. It is careless, and it is antithetical to what you should be doing as a digital marketer. You have to learn about your client's business or your own business and create a custom tailored approach to it. What the online experts are saying about one particular funnel is not going to work for your funnel.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when it comes down to it, one does not work for the other. You have to find out and glean more information from your customers and your clients about what's working for them, iterate on that, and then create that product, that funnel that works for them. I've worked with people who just wanted to use funnels, their own funnels for us. It doesn't work. Every business, every vector, every niche is different. You have to custom tailor it. And I don't think AI is necessarily going to conquer the entire market. I think creative services people, to their detriment, have assumed that whether you're a designer or a digital marketer or a videographer, that AI isn't going to come for you. AI is, but it's going to unfortunately call the people who are not the most talented or not the most passionate about this. The people who survive and thrive in this market will be those that really care and love for the work and custom tailor all their products according to what their customers want.
Absolutely, yeah. I think a big part of like digital marketing and sales is convincing people, right? Is kind of really resonating with your potential customer, your potential buyer. So I think AI, even, or at least for now, I don't think we're able to completely take up some of the human components and human approach that may be required, for example, like in like copywriting or in graphic designing, or kind of guiding a specific customer or buyer through like a certain sales process or sales funnel, or I think just creating some other digital assets. I think AI will just not be able to replicate that same sense of human resonance that has
Human touch, yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
that human touch. So even though some things may be like automated, like I know like a lot of email marketing stuff like that's already automated, but maybe to the next level even, I still think again more of the creative side will still be needed. just to come again have that creative touch there. So that's what I personally believe in. But it's definitely something that we as an agency are also looking to kind of expand to kind of see what options there are in the AI space. Because I've probably came across at least 3 or 4 agencies who offer paid management advertising, and that's something they offer. So it is a little bit scary, but I think it's just kind of that going back to that point of being just adaptive.
Yeah, I mean, especially for some of the newer viewers who are more green or more, not as experienced in business. And I'm not saying I'm Bill Gates. I'm just saying I have a couple of years under my belt. Whereas some people might be afraid of having competitors, like management companies who do that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to have competitors because if they develop the market, if they prove out that you have a large market,
Yeah.
you can take some ideas from them. It's totally fine. That's business.
Absolutely.
And then most of all, it motivates you to stay customer obsessed. The moment you decide to rest on your laurels and provide nothing new to customers is the moment your business will begin to die.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're adapting and iterating, you have a fighting chance to survive.
Awesome. So last question, I guess, just to kind of wrap everything up, guys. Hopefully this has been insightful so far. But what are some of your business and personal goals for next 6 to 12 months, despite of the situation that's going on right now, COVID?
Yeah, so I want to grow our business at a multiple this year compared to what we did in 2019. I'm thinking that COVID is going to be, a big change for the online learning market. Whether we fall into the change of we're going to do really well or it's going to present adverse effects for us, I don't know. I'm not arrogant enough to say. But I do want to grow the business this year. I won't state what sales multiple just because it's a business secret, but I do want to grow it this year. Second thing is that I want to have some really incredible case studies for our customers and for our future customers. I want to make a lot of customers really happy this year. I want to build out our tech product this year further and really make sure our software is perfectly viable for scaling and ensures that we can turn this into a $100 million company. And the final thing is build better investor relationships so that once the economic uptrend comes, and it will come because we're America and we always come roaring back, I want to make sure that we're in the position to raise that investor money and take our business to the next level.
That's great. Cool. And how about some personal goals, maybe?
I'm only 155 pounds, but I have a 390 pound deadlift right now. I'm trying to get to 400. Hopefully I'll get to 400 in a month, maybe a little sooner. Who knows? Once jiu-jitsu starts up again, I want to get my brown belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm a purple belt right now. I have a lot of competition experience. I've competed at some top tournaments. I would like to get my brown belt and become a black belt by the time I'm 30. And then last thing is that I want to be a better man to my girlfriend, my sister, my mom, my dad, and the rest of my friends and family. I always want to be a better member of our community. So the more value I can provide to those around me from not just a business standpoint, but from just being helpful and being there for them, I want to do that. And it's a privilege to be on this journey with those I love and those I care about. And the more time I can enjoy with them and be there for them, the better.
Absolutely. I don't think you could have said that better, but that's awesome, Jason. So I'm going to leave your Instagram, any other business profiles you want me to, and your YouTube channel in the description below. So guys, feel free to check out all of Jason's information. Will be in the description. Subscribe, like, follow. And if you guys have any questions, any thoughts, any concerns, drop them in the comments below as well. Either myself or Jason will be replying to them. And do you have anything else to add on before we hop off?
Yeah, just want to tell the newer entrepreneurs out there that it is tough, but you made a choice. And don't think of entrepreneurship as something you have to do. Think of it as a privilege of doing this. Think of waking up each day as a privilege, and think of the work that you need to do and need to get done as something, for like the Stoics said, the bees get up and collect their honey, the birds get up to fly, and you get up to do your work because that's what you were made to do. So I think of it as a privilege and opportunity to do it, and I guarantee your outlook will change.
Right on. Thanks, Jason, and thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Have a great week. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys soon. Take care.